Welcome to our Gentle Flow Yoga. We're going to focus on the second chakra today, so find a comfortable way of sitting. And like we tuned in last week to the first chakra, we want to find a sense of rooting down. So whatever way you're sitting on a chair cross-legged, just feel kind of what's between you and the floor. And at first, just notice your breath. The second chakra is located pretty much between, I just think of it as between the pubic bone and the sacrum. It is, in Sanskrit, Svadhishthana, which means one's own place. So I like to think of this chakra as like the temple of your pelvis. And by finding your own place, it's like you're finding the alignment of your spine and your midline. So as you sit here, just take another moment to feel that sense of rooting down through your sitting bones, feel your thighs, and then feel an extension up through your crown. Just for a few breaths, every exhale, feel that sense of rooting down without losing the extension you just had. And then on your inhale, find that extending up. Just play with that a couple breaths. So the color here is orange and the element is water. Now tune into this space of your pelvic bowl and just tune into how this center feels. Maybe it feels like it's a color orange, maybe it feels like a different color. Does it feel, how open or closed does this center feel? So this chakra rules the whole pelvis, the reproductive organs, kidneys, low back, lower abdominals, and the bladder. This center is a focus of our emotions, our sensuality, our creativity. It governs our self-worth and how we relate to others. It rules over like how confident we are in our creativity. So from here, as you're noticing your second chakra here, breathe into it, and let's play with a little bit of pelvic tilting. So real subtle on your inhale, let your pelvis go forwards, and notice how your thighs maybe move apart a little more. And as you exhale and go backwards, notice how your thighs want to go inwards. And just real subtle, just play with that a little bit. And then find that real sense of like your spine coming out from this grounded place. So you can sit even more grounded in a more balanced way. And from here, I invite you just to imagine your second chakra area as the stem that's going up your spine, the stem, and at the top of your head is this lotus. And notice that the stem might move a little sometimes as you're finding this place. So just 3 more breaths, noticing this center. The whole point of this chakra, or the whole essence of it, is going with the flow. So moving through changes in flexible, open way instead of being rigid. So lift your arms when you're ready and bring this intention of fluidity into your practice today. And we'll make the sound of Om to start, and then the sound for the second chakra is Vam. So we'll do 1 Om, 1 Vam, and then we'll try 1 round of Vam where we do it 7 quick times, and then we'll end with an Om. I'll lead you through it. Inhale for Om. Om. And direct the Vam sound to your pubic bone area. Vam. Vam. And then about 7 of them. Vam, 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 vam. And ending with an Om. Om. another breath in, feel this intention. And then we'll come on to our backs for the next part. So any movements that you need on your way to your back. You may want to have any blocks, any props nearby, just in case if you have a strap or a scarf or something, and then something for your head, blanket or a pillow. And then we'll start with pelvic tilt. So really tune into this center to sense your pelvis. So you can do our usual inhale, your pelvis will go forwards, and exhale, flatten your back. But I also like to play with a little bit of circles, so you can shift your weight to one hip. The other hip might just be a little lighter. You might actually lift it up or not, and then you'll just rock around from you're kind of rocking from your low back to one hip to your tailbone, creating this circular motion. And go really slowly so you can kind of feel how your core relates to your pelvis. And then change your direction with if you're doing the circles. And again, see if you can get your some of your abdominal muscles to help you do this instead of just your legs. You might want to lift your arms or stretch. This movement can feel really relaxing and good. And then we're going to do a way of breathing where we coordinate with our pelvic tilt. So let's all come to center, and on your inhale, lift as much of your, we're not lifting the hips, but you're sort of lifting as much of your back off the floor as you can. So you're really arching your whole back. Okay, that's the inhale. And then as you exhale, flatten from your upper back first. So maybe between the shoulder blades, you start to flatten all the way down to the sacrum. That's the exhale. And just let's do that a few breaths. So inhale, you lift your, you move your hips forward, you lift your low back all the way to the upper back as far as you can lift in your back without lifting your hips, basically. And then exhale, between the shoulder blades comes down, your middle back, your lower back comes down. And feel free to do whatever you want with the arms, just this deep, full breathing as you move. And then if you want to add on to this, you could lift your hips. So really root through your feet, lift your tailbone, lift your pelvis, lift all the way up to the upper back and shoulders. And then exhale, slowly lower down. So just 2 or 3 of those, either adding the hips or not. You can keep doing it just with moving your pelvis and your spine. And then notice your feet, maybe widen them a little bit, windshield wipers. So we do these in almost every class, but now even more focus. I invite you to have even more focus in your sacral chakra, that center of your pelvic bowl as you move, noticing the correlation between your core muscles and your hips and your thighs. Just really feel into these movements. And then if you feel like adding the arms, just might be nice in your shoulders, so hold your elbows above your chest and move your elbows away from your knees. You can keep the movement going, or you can hold one side. So I like to start off in the middle. You can move your hips to the left and then let your knees go over to the right. And if you want even more, bring your right ankle and your left knee just for a couple breaths to open up the front of your left hip and left thigh more fully. And just like we did last week, notice how balanced your pelvis is. Notice what your tailbone's doing. Does it feel better in this pose to just let everything relax, or to tuck your tailbone under just a tiny bit? And then if you held that pose on one side, move your hips to the right, let your knees go to the left, And maybe even bring your left foot onto your right knee, just to go a little deeper into the, maybe the outer hip and the front of your thigh. And notice if you can find a neutral position in your pelvis. Good. And then when you feel complete, come back to your back. And this, we're going to get ready for the next one by opening things up a little. So you can hold behind your right leg. First, just hug your knee in. So wind relieving pose. You might straighten the bottom leg. And let's just do this 3 times. So let your knee come out in front of you. And as you inhale, pull your knee in. As you exhale, let your knee come forwards again. Inhale it in. Exhale it out. And then you can straighten your leg, hold behind your leg and straighten, and then bend. And you don't even have to coordinate with your breath unless you want to. We're just getting a little bit of movement. This is so nice for our low back, for the hips, for the hamstrings. And then option for today, you can just focus on the hamstring stretch, holding behind your leg or with the strap, or you can add on a hip opener, very much like window stretch. So the way that you would do it is strap your foot first, so you have your foot strapped, and then bring your, it's a little hard to get into, bring your left ankle on your right knee, and then you could try window stretch in a different way today, maybe with your strap around your right foot, or you can hold behind your right leg. And you can just try it today with your right leg straight, or you could do it the usual way with your right foot on a block or with your right knee bent. So enjoy this. Few deep breaths. Try to keep your feet both quite flexed and active. If you're using the strap and you are fine using it with one hand, then your other hand could press your left knee forwards. And I find I don't get quite as much of a hip stretch when my right leg is straight. So if you want to go ahead and try to bend your right knee, even if you're using the strap, it still will hopefully work. And then just feel a little bit of a deeper hip stretch. Maybe you lean a little bit to each side. And then here's your options going from here. So if you're wanting to kind of avoid the deeper twist today, you could bring your left foot. You can bring your legs, so if you have your window stretch legs, you bring them to the right. So it is a bit of a twist, so to avoid too much of a twist, you could, let's see, what could you do? You could kind of lay on your side and push your knee forwards. If you want to go into the full pose, you let your left arm go over to the left. And if you want even more of a twist, you could just go right into a twist. So your both knees can bend and stack in just a nice twist. Or you can have your top left knee on a block and your foot against your bottom leg and just be in this really nice, what is this called? This really nice recline twist. So a couple deep breaths. Feel that little bit of engagement in your belly. And notice even your, you might find you can become aware of your pelvic floor in this pose. And then if you were doing the twist, it might feel good just to have a quick counter twist to the other side, maybe the simple version with both knees over, or just hug your knees in and skip that twist. Roll around, hug your knees in, release your low back. And then before we go to the other side, let's just have a little quick inner thigh release. So you can open your knees wide, or you could straighten one leg at a time. Feels so good. I got some pops there. Press through the ball of each foot as you open. And then we're going to do the other leg, so left leg. So hold your knee out in front, arms straight. And then on your inhale, hug your left knee into your chest. And that way we get a little extra squeeze in the digestive organs. Inhale, exhale, arms straight, and inhale, arms bend, and maybe straighten the bottom leg for a little bit more. Wind relieving pose with some movement. And then you can hold behind your left leg and just straighten and bend your leg. Say hello to your hamstrings, your knee. This is quite a nice little massage for the knee. We're opening some energy in the left leg. Anytime you want to yawn, please yawn, because that's sort of helping you release the tension and stress here. And then if you want to try your strap your foot. And this, you could just focus on the hamstring or move your leg quite a bit forward so you can get your right ankle on your left knee, on your left thigh. And then you can keep your left leg straight and just get a comfortable position with the strap. Or some of you might place your left foot on a block, or you could hold behind your left thigh like we normally do. And if your right hand is free, you can explore pressing your right knee away from you. Everyone looks good out there. Everyone I can see. I can pretty much see everyone today. And notice what would feel good. Maybe a little side-to-side movement. Keep your feet active. I like to feel like I'm pulling with my hands on the strap and then push my foot into the strap. And then if you did that variation where you have both knees bent, you can lower your left foot down to scoot your hips maybe a little to the right. One option is to just let your legs keep that shape, the window stretch shape, and go to the floor. And to avoid as much twisting, you can be more on your side and push your right knee forwards, or your right arm can be to the floor. It's still a very subtle twist. Or if you want more of a twist, both knees stacked to the left, or put your block, maybe a block or a blanket down on the left side, and let your right foot come to your left thigh. And then you're in this little bit of a deeper twist with the bottom leg straight. So sometimes explaining how to get into a pose is like, you might be not able to grasp it if you're not an auditory learner. So basically here you just find a pose or a twist that feels good. Maybe stretch and yawn again. Firm through your belly. And then if you did a counter twist before, do that, or just hug your knees into the center. Okay, let's see. All right. Happy baby poses next. So you could actually use your strap here, if it's long enough, and put your strap around your feet. Maybe start with your legs up like a V, and then let your strap come wide and bend your knees. And that way you don't have to reach your feet. You can move a little bit. And just notice just a few more deep breaths. I sometimes enjoy going really far to one side, almost like I'm going to roll all the way to that side. Just kind of explore what feels good. And notice your sacrum, your low back. Just see if you can hang out here a little longer than we normally would. Feel the openness of your pelvic floor. Just let it be open. Feel your breath, feel your belly moving, and when you've had enough, we're going to do one more thing from our back. We're going to work with butterfly pose. So you might have your blocks down just to make sure you don't bring your knees out too far. You have a little support. If you don't have blocks, folded blankets work. Or just know we're not going to be here that long. So if it's comfortable, if you have your knees supported in this butterfly pose, so feet together, knees wide, you could just maybe hold your elbows or hold your wrists. You get a little bit of a chest opener as we rest here for about a minute. And then we'll be doing some little bit of work, moving our knees up and down. So for now, just enjoy this pose and tune into your breathing. Maybe it would feel good to imagine your breath is going in through your low, low belly, all the way to the sacrum, tuning you into this watery element within. And when you're ready, you can definitely skip this part if it's uncomfortable. You're going to press your feet together, and on your inhale, you can use your hands to help, but on your inhale, your knees come all the way up and touch. And on your exhale, your knees go wide out to the side. So it's like you're flapping your beautiful butterfly wings. If your shoulders are tight today, you could actually kind of sit on your hands, and as your knees go up, you could try to lift your elbows off the floor. It's a really amazing shoulder stretch. And then you can relax your elbows down as your knees go down. So feel free to add that extra element if you want. We're gonna do a few more. And the other thing you can add if you wanna like work your abdominals, as your knees go up, you can lift your head up so you get a full crunch. And then as your knees go out, your head goes down. So either pick one of the the elbow movements, or you can do a little crunch nice and slow. Try not to go too fast. Let's see if we can do 3 more. Inhale, knees together. Which doesn't quite work with the crunch. So if you're doing the crunch, exhale your knees together. And inhale your knees wide. When you've had enough, unwind. So we're going to counter that with feet wide, knees together, and a little shoulder stretch. So bring one arm across your body and then the other. Okay. And then we're ready to come up. So you can roll to one side, rest, pause, and then come up to a seat. Take your time, go slow, especially we were on our backs for a bit. Sit on a blanket. We're going to do a couple of seated postures before we do our standing postures. So first one, butterfly pose again, but in an upright position. So Cobbler's pose, this is also known as. And you can get your feet in close, but it's okay to have your feet more in front. You want to be careful of your knees in this pose. If you've got some props, one idea with working with the props is to have one where it's close to your, so it's sort of pushing into the place of your second chakra. That kind of feels nice for me in my hips and everywhere. It might slide, so be aware of that. You could put something, if you're really flexible, you could put a block under your head or a bolster under your head. We're not going to be here terribly long, but just sort of explore a pressure in your feet, an opening in your hips. You can even use your elbows to help open your knees out. And then just as an option for if you wanted more movement here, you can reach one arm out to the opposite side for a little bit of more of a lower back stretch. Good. And then those that are wanting more movement, you can sit up in your butterfly pose, for me, it helps to bring my feet a little more in front. And then you could add your twist. So again, if you're avoiding your twist, maybe you just turn barely, so you have both hands on your knee. If you want more, you bring your right hand back to your block or the floor, and we just have a couple moments in a seated twist. You can also, if you're doing the really minimal twist, either pose, adding a little neck movement might feel really great. Try to keep pressing your feet together, and then we're going to unwind back to the front. Hold both knees, roll your shoulders back, and then bring both hands to your left knee and just add your head movement. Or if you want more, left hand goes back behind you. I really enjoy holding the block. And again, we're noticing the pelvis. We're noticing that sense of rooting and lifting through the crown at the same time. And then when you've had enough, come back to the center. And then you get to try the next one, which is legs wide. So for me, I'm feeling a little bit of tenderness in my right hip, so I'm going to just windshield wiper first. And then you can open up your legs to a comfortable degree. It doesn't have to be super wide. And I'd say sit on enough blankets that this is not too uncomfortable. And what you want to try for is that, aim for, is that your sacrum, you could even put a hand on your sacrum. You want your sacrum to be either straight up or a little forwards versus going backwards. So just feel into your pelvis. You could have your knees bent here. And then whatever you need, maybe you're able to reach your hands to a block or to the floor. Maybe you again find that having the block into your low belly would feel supportive. And we'll be here about 10 deep breaths. So this opens the inner thighs, which are related to the second chakra. Opens the hamstrings. If you want more hamstrings, you can go over towards, sort of lean towards one leg. You can stay pretty upright or you can fold forwards, depending on how your sacrum is. If your sacrum is going backwards, then I'd say just focus on staying upright and get your sacrum to be a little more up or forwards. And this is not the funnest pose if you're pretty tight, so I would say try to bend your knees and see if you can find that forward position. Couple more breaths. If you did this side, go to the other side if you haven't already. What is the saying in this book I'm reading right now about the chakras? It's something about, it's not how deep you can go into the pose, it's how deeply you can feel. I thought that was pretty cool. And then come back to center. It might feel good to bend your knees again to that brief butterfly and just take a breath to inhale. And then the next option here. So option, I think what we'll all start with together is, I think we did this last week. So you have your right knee bent and your left leg, you can just give it a little bit of a rocking motion. And then what you can choose, so lots of options. So I'm going to start with the gentlest option first. So gentlest option is that you would have your right, I guess for you this would be the left leg, wouldn't it? It's my right leg, so left leg. So you'd bring your left leg in front of you for cross-legged. Option 2 is rocking your legs so that your knees are somewhat stacked, cow face pose. And then advanced option, in case anybody wanted it, just got to give it just in case. See, I'm really unflexible in this pose too. You would stack your shins. This is called fire log pose, but it's very intense, so you might choose one of those other ones. All right, I'm just giving the deeper option since we're doing the hip so much today. And then you can come forwards and come into some nice long deep breaths. Maybe you get your props. And if you like the little bit of movement, root into your feet, and maybe you walk your hands towards one side so you feel, again, a little more of a low back stretch. And I invite you to tune your awareness to the feeling of your feet and hips on the floor, and the feeling of your spine coming out of your pelvis. Switch sides if you went to one side. And hopefully you're feeling something in your hips. That's the point of this one, whichever one you chose. And then when you've had enough, come up. Maybe windshield wipers again. There's another windshield wipers where your feet are not as wide and they're more in front. That, for me, I feel like that works more the internal rotation of the thighs. And then you can bend your left knee and get your right leg and just rock it a little bit. Lovingly hold it. Maybe you hook your foot into one of your wrists or arms. And then whichever pose you did before, the cross-legged, the stacking of your knees, or the double pigeon or fire log pose, feel your feet. So when we're working on the chakras, it's so fun to always start from the ground up. So notice your feet, your hips, your foundation, and then start to come forwards and really feel from the inside out, feel how your spine is coming out from your sacrum. Have a little more awareness, internal awareness today. And then you might move to each side, getting that little, like your hands are in line with each knee, so you're getting that QL, quadratus lumborum stretch going on, where we tend to all be tight in our low backs. Enjoy. See if you can exhale out your mouth if you're releasing a lot of tension. Beautiful. If you feel complete sooner than later, you can come up to a seat and just for a moment, just find a comfortable sitting position. And just for a moment, we'll just tune into the low belly and move your pelvis in a way just a little bit front and back until you feel enough engagement of your core that you can feel like you're rooting down and stretching up through your crown. Just see if you can hold that for a couple breaths. But still let go of any rigidity. Breathe into your pelvic bowl. See the color orange. Beautiful. Hopefully you feel a little more comfortable sitting than what you felt sitting before. It's nice to notice that. Come to your hands and knees. How are we on time? Okay. Have a lot of things to squeeze in. Might have to cut some things out of my plan. So we're going to get ready for down dog, but first you might want to do some more spinal movements. And really feel between your thumb and index fingers. You want to really root there. And if you're not doing a down dog today for whatever reason, maybe you walk your knees back, walk your hands forwards, and do half down dog instead, which feels really good too. Maybe you start with that. If you want more, tuck your toes, lift your hips, and we want to allow our pelvic floor to be wide. So for this down dog today, you just have that imagination, that feeling that your inner thighs are going towards the ceiling. And that widens your sacrum, it widens your low back, and then you might straighten one leg at a time. Whew, tight calves today. Just play with that a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to find a forward fold. So you can walk your feet forwards, use your blocks or whatever you need so that maybe for your low back doesn't want to be in a complete forward fold. So definitely find your halfway lift first. And then you could keep a bit of that length in your spine as you fold, or some of you could totally fold. Maybe rest your elbows on your knees.
spread your toes, feel your feet, feel your legs, feel your pelvis, and then feel into how your spine is pouring out of your pelvis. Inhale nose, exhale mouth. Inhale half lift. And then just to review, we'll bend the knees and stand. So we'll just have a brief review of our alignment from last week. So mountain pose, it's like your feet are on the square. I don't know if I talked about this or not. Your hips are like a top of an inverted triangle. Your pelvic floor is the bottom of that triangle. You want to line that right over the square. And then the symbol, I forgot to show the symbol for the second chakra is like a circle, like a crescent moon. And so you just kind of tune into that watery moon energy at the floor of your pelvis, allowing you to connect into your senses fully. And then we'll lift the arms, tuning into so much rootedness and so much extension and lift. Bend your knees, and we're going to step our right leg back. So you might use your blocks. Right leg back, long, low lunge. And if you'd like, just in this attitude of flow, fluidity, you might flow back and forth a little bit. If you're okay having pressure on your knee, pad your knee with a blanket. And then we'll come up into Crescent Lunge today. So you can have your hands on your front leg, have enough space between your knee and your foot. So again, we feel what's on the floor, and then find your neutral pelvis. And then if you want more, you add your arms. Whatever arm position would feel good. For me, I find I'm creating a little bit of a tailbone tuck here. Just enjoy your breath. Good. All right. Just for fun, let's add a side bend just because it feels so good. You can lift your right arm. Your left arm can be on your left leg, or you can reach your left hand to the floor. Then come back to center. We're going to step forwards. Lift your back knee, step forwards, half lift. Find your version of your forward fold, which might be staying in the half lift. Other side, left leg back, step back, your long, low lunge. And again, that invitation to flow back and forth. Picture your favorite body of water, moving water. That's like our symbol for today. And then back knee could come down if that's comfortable for your back knee. If not, I forgot to say this on the other side, but you could always have your back foot down in a warrior instead of the crescent lunge. Then come upright, hands on your front thigh. Just take your time to roll your shoulders back. Feel your right foot, your left knee that fits on the floor, and just notice your foundation. And then notice your pelvis. Sometimes for me, I like to put my hands on my hips like we did when we were sitting. Remember how we kind of tilted the pelvis a little bit? And find that neutral position. And then the spine has this, it's like this energetic highway, I call it. It's called the Sushumna, the central channel. You want to line that up right over the center of the pelvis. Then whatever you want to do with your arms. Maybe add that little tailbone tuck. You want to feel that your core is engaging here. Then side bend if you did a side bend before. Good. When you're ready, hands back on your blocks, lift your back knee. Rock a little bit to step forwards. Half lift. And then this is where if you've got like a shelf or a table or a desk or a chair, it might feel good to walk your feet back and just get a little extra length in your low back. And remember how we did our down dog a little bit differently today. So think inner thighs going backwards, a little internal rotation to widen your sacrum. I usually don't go into that much detail, but notice how that feels. It kind of feels good, and you have a little bit of engagement in your core. And then maybe your forward fold again if that feels good. Let your head go. And we're going to do one balancing pose today. I'm going to show you with a block. So you could go ahead and have a block outside your right foot just so it's ready. And maybe give your knees a rub and slowly come up to standing. So you can totally do this without a block, but if you want to try it with a block, I find it's quite nice. So we're going to start with, we're moving into eagle pose in case you're wondering where we're going. We're going to start with chair pose. And just get steady in the legs, and we'll add the arms first. So we're going to do, let's see. Okay, so your right arm's going to go on top and hold your shoulders. And then let's give ourselves a good squeeze. So inhale, squeeze your shoulders. Exhale, drop your shoulders. One more time. Inhale, squeeze. Exhale, drop. So you can hold your arms like this, or you can connect your hands, the backs of your hands, connect your fingers to thumbs, whatever you can grab. Or you could just have hands at your heart too. Then we're going to take our left foot. I'm going to mirror you on here. So right foot will go, no, left foot. Left foot will go over to your block. And then you make sure from knees to thighs, there's no gaps. You want to squeeze, close the gaps basically. And then you focus your eyes in front. And the block is so supportive there. If you wanted more challenge, you could lift your foot off the block. And just keep squeezing from knees to pelvis and feel this second chakra area. Good. Everyone looks good. You can always come out of it and just come back to chair pose. And then you can unwind the legs, lift your arms to chair, and then bring your hands to your heart slowly. Roll out your wrists, anything you need. Stand a moment. All right, other side. So you just stepped to the other side of your block. Okay, find your triangle, inverted triangle over the square positioning. Feel your central channel over your pelvis. Then bend your knees. Left arm on top. Do a couple shoulder squeezes. Inhale, hug and squeeze. Exhale, bend your knees and drop your shoulders. Squeeze, drop. Then lift your hands to get eagle position, or hold your shoulders or hands at heart. Okay, once you have that, bend your knees. Put your weight into your left foot and scoot your right foot to your block. And then let your knees try to connect from knees to hips. Your thighs are connected, hamstring to thigh. That's something that when I see people doing eagle, I always see this open space, and that is you're losing some of the strength that you could have in the pose. Then focus your eyes and breathe. Really looks good. Isn't the block so helpful? The first time I learned this with the block, I was like, wow, I want to do it with the block every time. Go a little deeper, and then you might just unwind the legs first, so you have just chair pose in the legs. Enjoy a little bit opening in your shoulders, and then unwind your shoulders. Sweep your arms up with your knees bent or straight. Slowly bring your hands to your heart and inhale into your heart. And then relax your arms and close your eyes or look to the floor. And let's line everything up so you're feeling from the inside to feel your alignment, to feel your own neutral pelvis, to feel a little bit of core engagement and an openness through the top of your head, a groundedness, a rootedness through your feet. Beautiful. Keep that feeling. Lift your arms. Forward fold or half lift. Half lift if you're not already there. Maybe get your blocks. So we're going to step our right foot back again. Lizard lunge. So both blocks or both hands inside your foot. You can scoot your left foot a little more left. And then you can stay in this active version, or you could lower your knee down. Some folks might enjoy lowering your elbows to your blocks. And then there's one more option here, if you would like to try a different option, is a twisting option. So you would keep your right hand on your block or on your mat, and your left hand, it's kind of hard to show, I'll turn around. Your left hand can go to your knee, and it's kind of nice just to hang out here, or you can do the one where we lift the arm or let your arm go behind you. So we'll be here a moment, and again, if you're avoiding the twist today, it's totally fine to just keep your hands on your mat. Yeah. 3 more breaths. The other thing you can do is come to the outer edge of your foot, so you can wing your knee out like that butterfly wing if you'd like. Then I personally like to add a little brief hamstring stretch after that one, so feel free to add that in. The standing splits, half splits. And then where you could go, actually we'll go ahead and do that on the other side. And then we'll definitely work our low back a little more in Sphinx and Cobra. But for now, lift your back knee, step forwards, find your half lift. And let's step the other leg back. So let's step our left leg back. Bring both blocks or both hands inside your foot. And either you're just pressing your knee into your arms. Maybe you lower your elbows down. So lizard lunge. Also known as dragon in some forms of yoga. And then you could bring your right hand to your right knee, or find that more open twisting variation. Maybe your right arm goes behind you. And you might have done, if you did this before with a different, maybe you're doing a different foot back than me, then just find the right arm that allows you to feel a sense of a twist if that is what you're practicing today. If you're in the lizard lunge, you can move your knee more to the side so you come out more into the outer edge of your foot. Maybe you can bring your hands off the blocks onto the floor now. Be real careful with your knee. If you're doing your half splits, you can have your hands on your blocks, scoot your foot in the middle, your hips back. All right, from here, come to your hands and knees and just take a moment. I like to do this with the blocks. I put one hand on each block, but you can just have your hands on the floor too. And you'll scooch back to a wide-legged child's pose. You could also rest your head on your arms. And then if you need something more restful today, you can stay in this pose. It's very lovely for the hips and the low back, doing it with the knees wide. If you want more movement, what you can play with at first is you could play with, how would it feel to come from hands and knees and just bring your hips towards like this half plank, or maybe bend your elbows for a bit of a cobra. That's too much on your low back. Maybe you come to your elbows and you play with coming into Sphinx and then going back towards that little half down dog, and you get a little flow that way. There's lots of things you can play with here. Maybe you, I call this one rolling cobra, so I slowly bring myself to cobra pose, and then I go back to child's pose. So I just invite you to kind of have a attitude of playfulness here, and exploring curiosity of how this feels, finding this flow. And then you might just hang out in one of those positions a bit longer, so the Sphinx or the Cobra, and just explore the rootedness of your feet and tailbone, and then inner thighs up towards the ceiling. So again, we have our wide sacrum. Feel free to move your head side to side. So whether you're in your child's pose or your back bend, find what feels good for you. A couple more breaths. Okay. And another option, if you were in Sphinx, you can come to your belly. Your head can rest down and just tune into your breathing. Like you're breathing into your pubic bone, sacrum area. Soften your jaw and your face. When we soften our jaw, it helps us soften our pelvic floor. Okay. Then you can come all the way back to your child's pose, or maybe you add one more down dog if you'd like, as you root into your hands, especially your thumbs and index fingers. Okay. All right. So we did quite a lot today to warm up our hips, so you might actually feel today like you would feel comfortable doing pigeon pose. If not, I would say you would try the laying down window stretch instead, or you could try seated window stretch. So right ankle on the left knee. It's kind of nice, you get a little bit of chest opening. Or from hands and knees, just be real careful. If you've got knee injuries, you probably want to skip this one. But if your knees are fine, your hips are fine, you can probably bring your right knee forwards. And when I want to modify this pose, I just put a blanket under my hip. You might have to double it up a little bit. And that feels really supportive there. And then you can stay with your arms straight here, or you could carefully lower your arms, maybe have a block for your head. And once I get into it, sometimes I find I don't need as much of the blanket and I can lower the folds. So whichever hip opener that you're doing, we're going to revisit another hip opener. You could also play with one of those seated ones, maybe the seated cross-legged or the seated cow face pose if you wanted to. So find a little bit deeper position in the version that you're in. And like we've been doing all day today, see if you can tune into your inner experience of your body. If you feel the stretch somewhere, maybe you breathe into that place. So the second chakra is so much about our feelings and emotions, and they can sometimes get stuck. Energies can get blocked here. So just tune into this feeling of just allowing your feelings to be. It's not like we're trying to fix them or change them. Letting them be, letting them flow. When you're ready, go ahead and switch sides. So depending on what pose you were in, if you're in pigeon, maybe you want to come back to hands and knees and roll things out or do a down dog. If you are doing the seated or laying down, you can do windshield wipers. Probably would feel good. Just notice a difference. How does that feel on each side? And then left knee, either left ankle on your right knee if you're doing the window stretch variation, or left knee forward. You make a nice diagonal, maybe put the blanket under your hip. And then we want our pelvis here in pigeon to be pretty level. So right hip and left hip in line with each other. And then come down only when you feel ready. Yeah, so whatever thing you did on the other side, do on this side. And then just have this feeling that you're inside your body, you're noticing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the center. So it says, when the sacral center is balanced,
Your being flourishes with sensitivity and intuition. You're able to feel and freely process your emotions, allowing yourself to connect to others while maintaining clear boundaries. You have a strong sense of self. The sacral chakra channels our emotions and just sense of sensuality on the physical levels, as well as a spiritual sense of loving and enjoying life. So it's about being able to enjoy being alive. When you're ready, you can release the pose. And I thought it would be nice today to finish with a little back bend. So you can choose our usual bridge pose, maybe with the block, or I'm just going to give a different, in that idea of loving life, the heart comes in. So maybe you want to try camel pose. You may want a block between your inner thighs just to help you tune into this sense of support in the pelvis and the inner thighs. So that sense of the inner thighs going backwards. And then you can just be real gentle here, hands on your hips or low back, and breathe. If you wanted to go further, sometimes I get my other block and just put my fingertips to my other block, and I call that good. If you did one side, you could switch at some point, but find that sense of a little bit of your tailbone down. You want length in your low back. If you reach back with one arm, reach back with the other. Keep that squeeze in your inner thighs. If you're just here in the center, hug your elbows towards each other. Maybe look to where the ceiling meets the floor. When you feel complete, you could even, sometimes I like to sit on my block for a moment, and it gives a good squeeze in the knees, and you can just find again your, move your pelvis a little, find that really lovely position where you can find your midline and breathe a moment. And then for today, since we're focusing on the second chakra, you could choose laying down butterfly as your Shavasana or usual Shavasana, so your choice. So if you can get it cozy, like with blankets under your knees and maybe even something for your head, or if you had a bolster, you could put a bolster along your spine. But this can be as cozy as Shavasana if you have props. If you don't have props, just do the usual Shavasana. Maybe put something over you, just get really cozy. breathe out of the sacrum. Just notice what feels good. Once more, tune into how the center feels, how balanced or imbalanced, what color does the center feel like it's vibrating at. How balanced does the center feel for you? Because this is the center for our emotions, when this center is imbalanced, we can feel, it's almost like to protect ourselves from pain, we block off our emotions so that we feel numb. Or the opposite effect happens where we could get, our emotions could get explosive, or we could get overreactive, or maybe irritable. Right now, just focus all your awareness and attention on just feeling the experience of your body. Allow yourself to surrender to the internal rivers of prana, of life force energy within you. Notice where you're flowing freely, and allow that feeling of fluidity to flow towards any places of tension or stagnation. Notice a profound state of ease or even pleasure that can occur when your body relaxes into its own flow after a yoga practice. Let that enjoyment, that pleasure register deeply in your consciousness. Let it be a baseline for your day. You can imagine this visual of water as a soothing balm flowing through you, like your awareness is the water. You just move it through this internal space of your body. If you prefer, you're always welcome to move to a seated position and meditate here instead of laying down. I really invite you to keep your awareness inside your body. Keep your eyes closed. Keep tuning into the sense of flowing river of energy within you. With your awareness, loving attention, just make sure that there's no stagnant areas. Everything is flowing. Any spots of rigidity, open to fluidity. Any spots of stagnation, open to flow. last few moments, tune into any feelings. The word emotion comes from the word move. Emotions are the result of feelings stored up in your body. See if you can just be with any feeling, any emotion without judgment. Frustration or tension. Then ask, is there something underneath this? Just notice if something else comes up. See if you can keep pulling the layers. Go deeper and deeper until you're like, I don't know what's here. I don't know what I'm feeling. Sometimes it's easier to start with a place of tension in the body, or a place of pain, or discomfort. And just notice what you notice. Perhaps you've got into a, who knows, hopefully, maybe, a more positive emotion, a more positive feeling, or a sense of space, a sense of acceptance or ease. And just in these final moments, notice if an inspired idea or thought comes to you of how you could bring a little more of this flow, this fluidity into your life. A little more sense of enjoying the pleasures of life. Maybe that's in an action you can do, or a little mantra you could have this week. I go with the flow of life. I enjoy being alive, whatever that might be. And then you can stretch if you're ready to come up, stretch, twist. Maybe rub your hands and feet together to really feel them, warm them up. When you find a seated position, see if you can find that rooting down and lifting through the crown, and find that really lovely neutral spot of your pelvis. We're going to end as we began. So one Om, one Vam, which is a seed sound for the second chakra, and then Vam 7 times, so faster, and then the ending with Om. You can listen or join in. Sweep your arms, and you can have your hands at your heart like usual, or maybe you put your hands over your low belly, the place of this center. Inhale. The 7 times. Vam, 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 vam. And end with an Om. Om. Inhale And exhale to Svadhishthana, your own place within. May this week, may you tune into your senses as a gateway of feeling more joy in your life and observing your thoughts. Of thoughts and feelings in a loving, non-judgmental way. Namaste, everybody. Thank you and have a wonderful day.